Welcome back to CNET's live coverage of CES 2016. I'm Roger Chang, executive editor of CNET News. We have something cool to show you. It's a fully funded Kickstarter project that is a cloud-based Android smartphone, the Nextbit Robin. And with me to talk about this is the company's chief designer and product officer, Scott Croyle. Scott,
hey, Roger.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yep, good to see you again.
Right, so for the many of you out there who don't know who Nextbit is, why don't you talk about what this company is, what this phone is, and we'll go from there.
Sure. You know, Nextbit started with this idea, or thinking about kind of that cloud future that's going to come 10 years off, where there's ubiquitous 5G speeds and we're connected all the time, and bringing some of that thinking into today's world. You know, we have the power of the cloud, but today you still get these messages that say, when you're like at a concert, or you're recording a video or taking a photo that says, oh, you know what? You can't take that photo, or we can't save that photo because you're out of space on your phone.
Right.
So basically, we use the cloud integrated into the operating system to dynamically move stuff on and off the phone.
So what, for folks who don't know what the cloud is, break it down simply. What does that mean for this phone, for the Robin?
Yeah, so basically what it means is this is it has 32 gigabytes of onboard storage on the phone.
Okay.
But we've integrated 100 gigabytes of cloud storage into it. So when you're basically connected to the cloud, the phone looks, feels, and acts like a 100 gigabyte phone.
All right, well that's great, but you're not always connected to the cloud, right? Cell phone coverage for me is spotty at best in a lot of places, especially on the show floor. How does that work if I don't have that coverage?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think first of all, when we're actually freeing up space, what we do is we look at how you've been using your phone. So let's say 6 months after you've gotten the phone, you've filled up the 32 gigabytes of storage. Right. We look at how you've been using your phone, and we're going to pick the app that you're least likely to open. And it's just a simple queue. We basically can just, if you use an app, it goes to the bottom of the queue. If you look at a photo, it goes to the bottom of the queue. So we're going to pick something you haven't used in 6 months or 9 months.
Right, and then what happens to the app or photos? It just sort of shipped off to the cloud then?
So actually, from the time you get the phone, we're already synchronizing the phone. So actually from day one, when you're on Wi-Fi and you're plugged in by default, everything, your apps and your photos are all synchronized to the cloud. So actually in that moment when you were freeing up space, you can actually be in airplane mode because everything's already synchronized.
Oh. Well, why don't we check out the phone?
Sure. So I think...
nice color, I was going to say, I really like the color.
Yeah, so I think one of the things about the design of the phone is that we wanted to create something that was unique, something that stood out. You know, if I were to put the iPhone out with every Android phone,
why don't we pull one out here?
If we were to put all that stuff, here you go. If we were to put all that stuff out here on the table,
there we go.
Nothing really stands out anymore.
Right.
It's something that we've talked about before. It's like, where's the excitement in the industry? And then I think if you look at it from a software perspective, you look at Apple and Google basically playing tennis. They're copying each other's features, and they're not bad features, but there's nothing super exciting. So with the design of the phone, we wanted to create something that obviously was iconic, but also something that was fresh, that was modern, and it kind of traded on kind of design equities that's different than what everybody else is doing.
And in case you don't know, Scott, I mean, he's got a good pedigree in terms of design. I mean, he was the guy behind the much beloved HTC One smartphone, the first all-metal device for HTC. I'm just curious, what design cues did you take from that to bring to Robin?
Well, it's funny. I didn't really take any design cues. In fact, if you think about the M7, which had the all-metal unibody, which subsequently Apple did after HTC. If I were to kind of put a critique at what's in the market nowadays, everything feels like a derivative of either what the M7 or an Apple iPhone.
Sure. And lots of metal everywhere.
Lots of metal. And so that means, great, the quality level, the execution level has kind of gone up across the board, but it also means that everything feels the same.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to jettison kind of everything that I knew about the design of smartphones and come up with a different set of parameters and kind of create the phone that I wanted to have, something that stands out from the crowd. I was at a party last night and I was actually looking at my phone. Somebody came up to me and was like, what is that? And that feels great. It feels great to kind of, first of all, to kind of have something that you've worked on, kind of recognize. But I think the point is that people are thirsty. They're hungry for something that's new, and that kind of sets them apart from the rest of the crowd.
I mean, this is a long way from HTC. You're doing things a lot differently, going through Kickstarter, going to consumers directly. Talk about how that went. I mean, most people buy their phones from a Verizon or an AT&T store, right? They don't necessarily go online and back a project.
Yep.
Talk about what made you guys do that as opposed to go work with an AT&T?
Yeah, we're a venture-based company, so for us, we had money, but what Kickstarter allowed us to do is start a conversation with people.
Right.
And so it was super powerful because that's the company we want to create. We think that era of, you create a product, you have a beautiful person hold the product on TV, we all look at that and say, I'm either going to hang out with those people or I'm going to be beautiful if I get that sort of stuff. We think that's kind of old school marketing. We think there's a new wave of marketing where people want to have an authentic conversation with people.
Right.
In fact, on Kickstarter, one of the things that was unique was that if you look at like the top 25 tech products that were on there, we had 10 times the engagement of the average of those, which was super powerful. People are super excited about what they're doing and having a conversation with us and giving us feedback on what we did right, what we did wrong, and we can take that and internalize that, and actually it affects our roadmap, and we can build, we can build software features, kind of response to the community, and we can add, other features in as we move forward to next products.
And so how the Kickstarter closed? You had about 3,600 backers there. How have sales been? I know you're in pre-orders now, right?
Yep. So sales have been great. There's no reviews out yet, so I think people are kind of waiting to see.
Well, we're still trying to get our hands on the actual phone,
exactly.
Right?
So they're coming soon, and we've announced this week that pre-orders are going to close down January 15th. But I think the important thing there is that for anybody that pre-orders a phone by January 15th, we're going to ship those in February.
Okay.
The other thing that we've announced is that we're going to ship the early Kickstarter backers, those first 1,000 people that bought a GSM SKU, we're going to ship those February 16th. So those are going to go out the door. All the other Kickstarter backers, at least for the GSM SKU, will go out a few days after that.
Okay. And you told me you got a little bit of news to share with us today?
Yeah, sure. So the other thing that's going to happen on February 16th is we're going to go live with the e-commerce store.
Okay.
And on that is basically, like a super in-depth kind of presentation of the product, how the cloud storage works, what the specs of the phones are, so you can kind of go super deep as a consumer. That's number one. Number two is obviously all the accessories that we have, from screen protectors to cases and all that stuff. And then also support. What does support look like for us? So the forums, it's funny, there's kind of two different types of customers. People that love to go deep on the forums, we saw that on Kickstarter, and then people that want to contact us through social. So looking at our Nextbit Sys handle on Twitter or Instagram, there's kind of all these different avenues where people want to have conversations with us.
Great. Well, why don't we take a look at the phone itself?
Yeah, sure.
I guess what's unique about it, as you told me, some of those apps, when they're not being used often, actually get sort of taken off the phone, put in this cloud. Why don't we zoom in there? The Skype app is actually, right now it's grayed out. Why is it grayed out?
That's right. So the Skype app is grayed out here. That means it's actually been offloaded because I haven't used it in 6 months or so. But let's say I want to use
Skype?
I don't Skype, actually. We're Android. The phone is an Android, so we use Hangouts a lot, but I do use Skype occasionally. Anyway, so if I tap that, what's happening now is we're pulling down Skype back from the cloud.
Right.
And when it actually gets pulled down, you can see that the icon is going from that shadow icon back to being the kind of normal Skype icon that you'd expect. And once it's brought back down, we reinstall it. We hook back up the credentials and app data. Right. And so when I actually launch it, it's like it's never been removed. You can see here now this dot is blinking. That means we're actually installing the application now. Yep.
And again, you don't have to sign back in. It's basically as if you never did touch that.
It's like it's never been removed. That's right. The alternative for people nowadays is what? I'm going to go delete that app.
Yep.
And not only that is when I've missed that moment, I've taken a photo, and I have to go through and okay, which app do I want to remove? I know I haven't used that, but I might use it. And so basically it eliminates that issue.
Well, look, thanks so much for joining us. It's time for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll roll some video of the latest products our editors have seen on the show floor. Then we're going to hook you up with Brian Tong for an extended tour. Stay with us.